awesome, and we are really excited, and we're actually looking forward to getting this done with, because we have a lot of women in this world that do a lot of amazing things. So we should promote ourselves better. Hi, Indu. And everybody who's joining the session, you already know by now how we use the system, but you have that chat box on your right side. Please do let us know where you're calling from, how you're feeling. This is going to be, as you know, an interactive discussion. So we expect questions, we expect feedback, and we will appreciate it, not that we expect it. Also, reactions, you have that little emoji button on the top down, on the down center of your screen. So feel free to use it, and just enjoy the conversation. And everybody who is a member, we know that these calls are recorded. Once we are done, the recording is automatically available. We're also live on YouTube for who's watching on YouTube. If you have any questions on YouTube, we will need you to get into the AirMeet system, because otherwise we won't be able to get back to you, or just email us if anything, and we'll get it sorted out. I think that's pretty much of the housekeeping. We're pretty much looking at an hour of discussion. And then in terms of announcements, before we jump into, this project is sponsored by the PMO leader. And I pretty much talk a bit about them during each episode, so I won't spend too much time doing this now. But a few things that are relevant in the upcoming period is that we have a big, our annual global conference is happening this October on the 18th. Free registration. It's going to be an amazing event. Whoever joined last year, you know that we typically do a follow the sun, quote unquote, type of event, where we have sessions happening live from all regions around the world. And if we missed any region last year, we're not going to miss it this year for sure. We have an amazing lineup of speakers, individual sessions, panels, new other features like, for example, the open mic, where people just take the microphone for 5 minutes, and they just share a story or something about project management. And you can apply for all of these as we speak. The registration is free, attendance is free, and then recordings will be available to all who are members of the community. Membership, which is also free. So whoever is not a member, you can just go ahead and do it. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get access to all these amazing resources. So that is the conference. Book the date. Registrations are going to be open up to the date, the big day. But of course, if it's easy just to do it now, so you have that. To mention also that Jenny, our guest today, she's going to be part of one of the panels in that conference, and it's really exciting. we have the chance to talk to her today, and then also during the conference. And again, a lot of amazing people like Jenny from all around the world, amazing professionals, will be dedicating their time during that day to share their knowledge with us. And also great sponsors, without whom we wouldn't have been able to make all of this event free for everybody. So that's really amazing community effort. So looking forward to it. But then we can also get back to our discussion today, which is really exciting. And Jenny, I'll let you say a few words about yourself, and then we can go into the nitty-gritty details.
Sure. So thank you, Thinka. You said you coined that. Thank you, Thinka, for all the housekeeping information. And I am very much looking forward to the annual conference coming up in October. So I am Jenny Fowler, and I live here in the United States in South Carolina. And I've been leading project management offices for over 20 years, 25 years or so experience leading project management offices for about 20 years. I have built and or rebuilt 8 project management offices. That is 8, the number 8, in my career. And I'm one of the people that I don't just love the craft. Let me rephrase. I don't just like the craft of project and change management. I absolutely love it. I love the craft and the career that I've chosen, and I enjoy giving back to the communities like this. I am a practitioner. I'm boots on the ground, running a PMO and doing project management and change management. I'm not a consultant. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion today. And feel free, if you've not yet, to connect with me on LinkedIn. And and I'm happy to start the discussion today. So back to you, Thinka.
Thank you, Jenny. I think I froze a bit when you mentioned the 8. I hope I can even count to 8. Some who know me might have debates on that. But it's such a pleasure to have you, and
thank you.
Thank you for really being open and promoting this event so nicely on social media. You've made so many waves, and we really appreciate having you. And it's going to be a wonderful discussion. And I think I was just thinking before our call, how better way to start discussing about celebrating women in project management other than with you. So I think this is an amazing start. So maybe we should start by mentioning that the book that you contributed to, which I believe is Unlocking the Opportunity, and I'll just put the link in the chat for everybody to have it handy. You can also grab a copy from there. It's an ebook, so I think that's pretty instant delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Was written by Elise Stevens, who is a big name as well in this industry, and another great model of a woman leader. And Elise has written many books. She has many other projects. She's currently in Australia, so we really appreciate her being open to us, kind of talking about the book. And we would have loved to have her join as well. Of course, the time zone difference is a bit tricky, but we'll make it work somehow, maybe in the future. But yeah, just a few words of recognition for Elise. Really, kudos for having this challenge, for putting together books like this and giving women the opportunity to say, to speak up. So the book, Jenny, and let me know if I'm getting this right. The book is pretty much 150 women who have different achievements within project management have contributed to bring this book alive.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yes.
And you are one of them. So that's amazing. This is really impressive. So I'll let you talk a bit about how it all started. I guess how did you and Elise get in touch, and all that start, and then we can go maybe into the actual details from the book.
Right. So I've been connected to Elise and have been following her work, and vice versa. We've been connected, and we've traded some communication and things to that nature over the years. And she had posted on social media that she was working on a project to compile some strong women in project management all over the world, because again, she's in Australia and it's 2 a.m. in the morning, I believe, for her right now. So I knew that she was working on the project. And so, I reached out and I said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help you with your project. And she said, well, I'd love to have you contribute, to some content to it. So she sent me, a list of questions. I think we're going to go over, some of the content that I provided to her today. And then poof, here we are today. So, not to minimize the amount of work it must have taken for her to compile 150 women and their, and coordinate that and, project plan all in it of its own, right, to pull all that together. So, so that's how, just through social media presence and, she and I appreciating each other's work.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it sounds very straightforward and simple in terms of, not simple, I guess smooth as a process. It wasn't, was it, how did you find the communication, or, did she just kind of send you the questions, you send her back your answers, and that was pretty much it? Or did you have meetings? Did you have, I don't know, meetings with everybody else, kind of like review meetings, or?
No, it was really simplistic. It was more along the lines of the first answer. She sent me, a grid of the types of content she was looking for from me. And I put my, feedback in there and, sent it back to her and said, hey, is this along the lines of what you're looking for? And then, might have had a version or two back and forth between the two of us. And then, and we were done. So, no meetings. She does have some podcasts and things of that nature that I have listened to some of her podcasts and things like that. But yeah, the process was pretty simplistic, at least from my part, not necessarily from her part, but as a contributor, she made it very smooth.
Okay. Did you have any? Did you have the chance to meet with Elise or with the other women after
I have
the
not
book?
had a chance to meet face to face with any of the other women, but I've tried to connect, I believe, to all of them on LinkedIn. Just so, because I appreciate their work and things of that nature. So I believe I have tried either over the last year or so to connect to each of them. So, I want to continue the partnership that we have all together through, unlocking the opportunity.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I think we were talking before starting the episode about the fact that, these kind of book challenges, if I may just call it a book challenge, seem to be very popular nowadays, and I think people react to them better because maybe some people are interested in starting to write a book, but they're not really confident that they want to do it by themselves. Therefore, sometimes when somebody's kind of managing the whole process, like Elise did in this case, it was somehow gave more confidence to everybody to just jump in on a certain topic. And
Yeah.
there's did you find it like that? Did you have a plan to write your own book?
Yes, I do. I do have a plan to write my own book. And if some of you that might be connected to me already on LinkedIn, I had a post up about a month ago of different types of topics that I may want to cover in my first book that I'm planning to write here over the next year and a half or so. And I got a good bit of great feedback from the audience on LinkedIn about what they would find beneficial and useful. So thank you for those that have contributed to that. So yes, I do plan. It's in the very early stages. I would call storyboarding. Storyboarding right now, and I've got a couple of folks that I really consider mentors that are willing to partner to help me with my first journey of doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you need more? Do you need more reviews or ideas for your topics?
I think I've got enough ideas right now. I think I wound up with a couple of thousand responses, so got a few. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing, and I think that's a very good approach on your end, Jenny. Just to kind of ask people what people in the business what they want, what they feel is missing. I think that's a very leadership-like approach.
Yeah,
So
and you want to just put something on paper and it be just something that collects dust on a shelf. So that's why it's like, okay, out of these topics or other, which ones could help you, in the project management community. And I got a lot of great feedback.
Yeah, and I think that's because you have so many, you have so much knowledge and so much expertise in so many areas. It might be, I guess, it's easier when you hear what people need.
Yeah. What do you need? Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you need? That's a good one. Okay. So going back to the book, to the Unlocking the Opportunity book.
Yes.
Shall we go through the questions or?
Sure. Yeah,
Yep.
let's start there. We'll start talking about some of my contributions to it.
Okay. So as you said earlier, basically everybody received about 6 questions from Elise,
Mhm.
and you had to add your input
Yes.
on the different questions, and that's how your input ended up in the book.
Yes.
So you have your own. How is the book? Is that structured over? So does it have, for example, Jenny Fowler's um,
Yes,
response?
that's how it's structured. It has each person, and it has a bio on the person, right? Of what where they are, how much experience they have, or what they're doing in the realm of project, program, portfolio, whatever the P word might be for their career in this change management umbrella that we do. So it has their bio, and then it has some of their nuggets that they have underneath those guided topics that she gave us.
Okay, that's amazing. It's like a collection of reviews, like
Yes.
an album of reviews. Very nice.
Yes. Yes. I
Really
like that.
special. I don't think there's too many books like that.
Yeah.
That's actually a nice idea.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's see. One of the questions was, what is project management superpower?
Yeah. So the I'm going to give you the high level what my answer was, and then for each of these, I'm probably going to give a little bit of color as to why I chose that answer out of everything I could have chosen. So, what is
Also,
project
anything
management?
that changed.
Yeah,
if,
right. That's right.
if
That's right.
anything
From
changed,
last
right?
year to this year. Yeah, my answer might have changed. That's a good point. So, what is project management superpower? So, for me, where I sit, and and over the last 20 years, I think that it's a really good question. And I think our superpower has evolved over the years. And I'm not talking about just Jenny's superpower. I'm talking about our superpower as change leaders, right? But I think the base of that project, that superpower, can be summed up into one word, and that's influence, right? Because as project managers, we don't own the budget, we don't own the scope, we don't own the dates. Usually, some companies might be structured a little bit different. Sometimes you don't own the people, right? They don't report to you. So how do you get stuff done? And I think you get stuff done through your power of influence. So to influence products and people and processes. So if I had a superhero costume, I would put a big I on the front of it, right, with my cape flowing. Um, so I think that's important. Now here's my commentary to that of why did I choose influence? So I could have chosen a lot of different things. I could have chosen being strategic or what have you. But I think those are byproducts. I think the competency, not necessarily the skill, but the competency of being able to influence. I think a lot of us in the craft of change management and project management really have to do that self awareness, that self evaluation of how much influence do we naturally have versus how much influence do we need to adapt ourselves to show. And so that takes some work, right, to really kind of figure that out. So I encourage you guys, how can I find that out about myself? I'm a big fan of the tools of whether it be the DISC model. There's Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs the results might be a little bit difficult to look through if you're trying to find out if you have influence or not. But I do love the tool. Gallup Strength Finder, Clifton Strength Finder, can help you to understand what your top talents are. But specifically, like the DISC model, it can show you in the D, I, S, and C that I, right? I stands for influence, and how much of that do you naturally have? And some of us just aren't built with a lot of that, so you have to figure out how do you create that? How do you? Because we all have the muscle. It's just, is the muscle tone or not? We'll go with that. Is the muscle tone or not? So, we might have to work at it a little bit. So I do think that is the superpower that we bring to the table, is really trying to move bodies of work through organizations by influencing people. So I'd love to think of what do you think about, the project management superpower?
I do have a follow-up question though, which is actually somewhat related. I'll answer to your question first. So I was thinking of communication, but I was thinking communication in the sense of influence as well, more so like a synonym. Just because, as you well pointed out, as a project manager, you pretty much don't own anything other than your relationships. And even those, if you don't, if you don't nurture them properly, you're not going to be successful in achieving in helping your team achieve, as a whole, what you need to achieve. And
Yes.
there's many scenarios we can grow here, but I do have a follow-up question though.
Okay.
In your experience, did you find that this influence toning was different in any way from men on the same role? Because we're talking about how women achieve things. So, now I think worldwide it's pretty much on par, women versus men leaders. So I was just curious if you found that sometimes men have easier toning of their influence, or
I will speak to that from my travels, right? I'm not going to speak to that, because that's up for debate, and I'm sure a lot of people have differing opinions. So I will just give you my opinion on that. I think as far as the way that, because you were talking about communication, in your piece to that, and I am going to answer the question. I'm giving some context to it before I answer the question about women versus men. So I think for example, the reason I mentioned the DISC model is because the DISC model measures is the wrong word. It assesses, that's the better word. It assesses, your communication preference and your behavior preference. Whereas Myers-Briggs is personality, Clifton Strengths Finder is talents, so they are measuring, and like I said, measuring again. I didn't mean to. I'm trying to say assessing, and I keep saying measuring. So, anywho, the assessment of that. So I do think, as far as us as humans, gender aside, us as humans, I think that can be assessed in a similar manner, right? Do you prefer to communicate written or verbal? Are you more of an introvert, of an extrovert? Are you more detail oriented? Do you want a status report that has a bunch of detail on it? Or are you more of a strategic person where you're like, give me that, name that tune in one sentence, right? I don't think gender has anything to do with that. That's Jenny's opinion. So I think when you're trying to, as far as determining our influence of whether you're a man versus a woman, I think if you use those tools and you objectively try to look at yourself as a human, just, as a human, we're all one species here, right? I think you can try to work on your self-awareness and make sure that you're aware of what you bring to the table and what you do have and what you don't have, as far as your communication styles and your preference. I don't think gender should matter there. And then what you don't have, what are you going to do about it? Right? How are you going to build that muscle? How are you going to tone that muscle? Because a lot of times, I'm not saying we should go here in this conversation, but we're going to have a whole recording on how do I get more authority as a project manager, right? And someone will say, well, it's easier for a man than a woman. I don't know that I buy that either. Again, from my travels, I think a lot of times project managers want to feel like they need to get permission to have authority on their projects, whereas I'm more of the mindset, no one's going to give you a seat at the table. How are you going to take your seat at the table? And I don't mean that in an aggressive way. I mean that in an assertive way. So I hope that answers your question on. I don't know that I look at it from a gender standpoint as much as I do about you looking inside yourself and figuring out how you can bring your best self to the table. So
that's amazing.
That's my thought on that.
That's amazing. Thank you. And we have also we got another good question from Indu in the audience. How do you balance your professional development in project management with your personal life? And what advice would you give to someone looking to excel in project management? Actually, there's 2 questions.
Yeah, there is. So thank you, Indu. So I'm looking at, if you see me kind of glancing to the side, I'm like, so how do I balance my professional development and project management with my personal life? I am not one of those people that says that is, I'm only going to be this person at work and I'm going to be this person at home. I love what I do, right? I love project management. And so I think that there's a lot that I can learn from both sides to bring some of that into my personal life and to bring some of my personal life into my job. So, but it's taken me years, because I've got over 25 years of experience here. I am a very strong component as a leader for life work balance. I really don't love that we say work life balance because we put work first. So I've turned that. It's life work balance for me. And, I make time, setting up your boundaries. So what I've learned how to do better is to set up my boundaries. And because, someone say, well, I'm so busy. My calendar is just so full. And I'm like, do you manage your calendar or does your calendar manage you? Because we as project managers are supposed to be experts in time management. But I hear so many project managers that say they're so busy and they don't have time for anything. And I'm like, then are you really an expert at time management? So you got to work on that muscle, right? So I think things have a time and a place. So how do I balance my professional life and my personal life is, I give 100% to my work. I love my work, but I give 110% to my family, right? I'm not going to miss a ball game. I will not. My dog sits literally right over here in my office, because he's my supervisor, my daily supervisor. So yeah, I hope that helps with that. I'll keep that brief. And then what advice would you give to someone looking to excel in project management? There's so many different choices with project management. And I think, again, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but really, really diving in to the talents that you have, not that the talents others have told you you have, but at the talents you really have. And I think using those tools can help you, and then trying to figure out where your muscle tone is. And so that way you can truly bring your best self to that role of project management, because we're all, some project managers are super detail oriented. And so they really thrive in that waterfall environment because they are detail oriented and they do well with those complex work breakdown structures. Those project managers may not enjoy being a scrum master, right? Because scrum master, you don't have those big, long, work breakdown structures. So maybe if your talent is strategy and being strategic, maybe you will enjoy being a scrum master more than a project manager. But you kind of have to deep dive within yourself to figure these things out. So that's my high level thoughts on those 2 questions. Thank you, Indu.
Thank you both. Those are really good. And here's from Indu. More thanks.
Thank you, Indu.
Great questions. Okay, and looking forward for more. So everybody in the audience, do not be shy.
Yeah,
we have time and we have openness to all questions.
yeah.
In the meantime, we can jump on to the second question. So we went through the project management superpowers. We talked about that. We said influence. That was your call, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, interestingly enough, the next question is about gender diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And how can it be improved in our profession as project managers?
Right. So we've touched on this a little bit. And, the most simplistic answer that I can provide is know your brand. 3 words. Mm-hmm. Know your brand. Male or female, know your brand. Right. And then once you figure out those talents that you do have, your behavior styles, your behavior preferences, because how many times, and you don't necessarily have to raise your hand, but how many times in your performance evaluations does your manager Want to talk about your top 3 opportunities, your top 3 weaknesses, and you spend, that hour performance eval, you spend 45 minutes talking about those. We've all been there, right? And it's like, well, what about let's talking about my top 3 strengths and how we're going to use those more? Because, like, for example, I'll give you Jenny's example. One of my top strengths is being a strategic person. So early in my career, and I'm just showing some humility here, early in my career, very early, I got some dings a couple of times on some of my performance evals saying that I wasn't detail oriented enough. And what that meant was we did not have a PPM tool at that time, a project and portfolio management tool. So we had this ginormous workbook with 56 sheet tabs. And so I might have missed updating a cell or 2. That workbook drove me nuts, right? And I hated it. I hated every moment of it. So now I'm embracing that. You know what? If you need to hire someone that's going to keep a 50-something tab workbook up to date, I'm not your person for that. I don't enjoy that work, and that's not what I bring to the table. Here's what I do bring to the table. So I don't want to talk to you for 45 minutes about how much more detail oriented I need to be, because that's not one of my strengths. And I'm not going to work on toning that, because I'm owning that. So it's not necessarily, I'm not allowing that to be a weakness for me anymore, right? I surround myself with people that are detail oriented, because that's what a good team is about, to where they can enjoy their things and I can enjoy my things, and we can make beautiful magic going forward. But, we didn't learn some of that growing up. So know your brand, and, spend a lot of times on your strengths, focus on those. And then you can have something rock solid that you offer to where you can be a rock star, truly be a rock star. So, and a question I will ask the group, and this is just a rhetorical question. Do you truly know your top 5 strengths, male or female? Do you truly know what those are? And you may say, I'm going to give you a free tip here. You may say, well, it costs money to take that Gallup Strength Finder, and my company's not going to pay for that. A free version of that is High Five, HIGH and the number 5. That uses the same data set as Clifton Strengths Gallup Strength Finder does. So you are welcome to go take that today and figure out what your top 5 talents are, and start dig into that, and figure out how you can. That's going to be your going to the gym. Figure out how to work out those muscles to where you can really, really start your brand. So I think that's how gender diversity, it's not about, male versus female for me. It's about knowing your brand and bringing your best self to the table.
That's a great answer. I love the aspect about owning what you like and what you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, I think, where performance comes from, right? What you will like, will excel in, because you just like it and it comes natural. Whereas if there's something that you don't like, you will probably be less inclined to, to focus that 100% on it.
Yes.
And the fact that, a project manager should surround themselves with people who have the, eat the bits and pieces of each, so that the team becomes cohesive and, as you said, beautiful magic together.
Yeah. And please, I want people to be better than me at most things, right? If not all things. And, like in that example, oh, please do this Excel workbook. And I don't want any part of it.
Yeah. I feel the the sorrow about those evaluation discussions. I used to have them myself. No more.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't. I'm not going to let that kind of conversation, happen. But I don't have those type of leaders anymore. I'm really blessed with the leadership crew that I work with today.
What's your supervisor next to you saying? How is he or she evaluating you?
Well, we set goals. We set goals at the beginning of the year, of we're going to try to accomplish, X number of goals. We touch on those every quarter to see how we're doing. And then that's what we evaluate, at the end of the year. So we set those goals, but we talk all throughout the year, right? So a performance evaluation is not a once a year thing. We talk every week. Right. And I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes. I scrape my knees just like every human on the planet. But good leadership that has talent that they really enjoy having at the table, there's grace for when you scrape your knees, right? And most of the time when you make a mistake, you don't need someone to tell you that you made a mistake. Most of the time, right? So, but yeah, it's all about just trying to have that really good team to where we can make progress.
Wonderful. Okay. Let's see. Lucky number 3. So the next question: as the profession evolves, what skills do you think will be key for future success?
That's a really good question, and there's a lot of different angles. So my angle on this one was, I think that there is a difference between good and great in our profession. And so, of course, there are technical skills that we can conquer, and then there are soft skills and competencies that you can evolve. So, you can get your various certifications. There's a gazillion of them out there, right? PMI has all theirs, and then there's, Scrum Alliance and fill in the blank. They have all of theirs, but those will only help you be good. I don't think those certifications will help you be great. And I think there's a misconception out there that if I get these certifications, my pay is going to increase, or my value is going to increase, or my reputation is going to increase. And I think there's some truth in there, but that's not going to take you from good to great by getting those certifications. I think those are baseline, being brilliant at the basics. I think those are what those certifications, at least in my travels and the way I look at them. But the things that we've been talking about your behaviors and and how to do relationship building and influence people and build a team, that competency is what will help you to be great. I think that there is a huge difference between, this is some commentary, there is a huge difference between coordinating a project, managing a project, and leading a project. And so that, Thinka, is the topic in the conference that the PMO leader is hosting here in October. That is the topic that the panel is going to discuss. What's the difference between managing a project and leading a project? And some companies just haven't figured that out. Project managers might be good at coordinating and order taking and, or scheduling things and keeping things updated. But, that's not what takes you from good to great, right? That competency of leading the project is what does. So I think that's the key. The question was, what do I think about future success? I think, there's a combination of those tactical skills and those certifications and that experience. And then that's the good. And then the great is those behaviors and competencies. So that's my opinion on the key to future success.
Wonderful. And how do you feel about, I guess related to this question, how do you feel about technology evolution? Because I'm not a talker on the topic, but I know it's really popular, and you can only think that in the upcoming future, or near or further, people will start becoming more and more interested in using different technological tools.
Yeah. My answer to this, would have been different 2 years ago than it is today. Because, you have the buckets of people, process, technology, right? You have those 3 buckets. And we've been talking about people, a little bit about process so far, but now let's talk about technology, and all the buzz about artificial intelligence and AI, and is AI going to replace the project manager? I don't think so, but I think those project managers, well, let me rephrase that. Is AI going to replace project managers? It depends. Jenny's opinion. It depends. If the project management function in said organization is truly order taking and updating sheets and checklists and stuff like that, artificial intelligence can do a good bit of that for us. Even down to writing a basic risk log. You can ask, you can put your scope into the ChatGPT and say, here's my basic scope. Can you generate a critical path for me? It can do that. What are the top risks? It can generate, I want the top 10 risks. It can generate that for you. Depending what tool you have, and forgive me for touching my face so much, my allergies. I'm sorry, I'm just itching. I'll try to keep my hands off my face. So I think that, the PPM tool, the project and portfolio management tool, whether it has integration to AI or not, it's coming, right? But I don't look at that as a replacement. I look at that as a thank you. Oh my goodness, all that administrative stuff that we spend so much time doing. If we can get the tool to do a majority of that for us so we can spend time managing and leading the project, hallelujah. So I'm not looking at it as a replacement. I'm thankful it's coming. I'm so glad it's here. And I think we're just scraping the ice, the very, the very, very tip of what's to come. But I'm not intimidated by the new technology that's coming or that's here. I'm excited about it. So I think the technology, but I tell you, even if your company isn't using AI yet, I would go do some self-study and really look at, what's going to happen, because you don't want to wind up getting caught surprised of, oh, I didn't know that it could do fill in the blank for me as a project manager. So really try to do your homework on what this tool is going to be able to, or this technology, not tool, because you have different tools, what this technology is going to be able to do to our profession. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
And I think that's a good point. I was just thinking, and seeing also in the studies and projects that I work on. Do you think the project manager should have a role in this technological process improvement outreach, or is this something that should maybe come from the company itself? So, for example, you're managing the project and you see that your people are struggling with 56 sheet tables.
Mm-hmm.
As a project manager, you should, I mean, as a leader, you would, be able to identify these struggles, and you could as well, start making proposals maybe to the leadership of the company, to the executives. Do you find that, does that happen, did that happen in your travels, or was the company more so looking for, because sometimes if it's part of a big company, you can't really do too much because they're vendors, they're partners, whatnot. But smaller companies could be adjustable and flexible.
Yeah, I just think you just nailed it about the size of the company, the bureaucracy in the company, where the PMO is positioned. Sometimes PMOs are buried down in the organization and are just departmental, and then you have some project management offices that are truly enterprise and are really elevated inside a company. So I think a lot of that depends. But I think the basic answer, to your question is, I want our friends in project management to always feel like you have a voice, right? And raise it as high up as you can. Even if it's not popular to do so, if you're passionate about it, document the risk, escalate it, or opportunity. It may not be a risk, it might be an opportunity. But I think that's, some of the influence that we bring is, start toning that muscle. If you're passionate about it, raise it up. Some of your companies that are larger, one of the clients that we support right now is a Fortune 25 company. So I get it. I mean, I get it, on the larger companies and the layers you have to go through, and then I've worked for some smaller companies to where my office was right beside the CEO's office. So I get it, it just depends. But yeah, I think we should always feel like we have a voice.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think whoever says that, something is not possible for a project manager, I think that, you should still try.
Yeah.
In my travels, I've tried a lot of things that everybody said that wouldn't work, and even at some point I thought they may not work, but in my head it was, just try it. I mean, there's nothing that can go bad.
Yeah.
It's,
Worst
I
thing
mean,
that can happen is they tell you no.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really worked, so I was proven wrong. I kind of yeah. Okay, let's see. Next on our list of questions: how do you recover from difficult situations? And the next one is about tips and techniques for conflict resolution. So I'm not sure if you're thinking of combining the two.
Okay. Yeah. I think we probably can combine the two. And for those of you, because we've got a good bit of people, that are signed in right now, please feel free to put, comments, compliments, questions, complaints, what have you. We'd love to hear that in the chat area. So how do you recover? How do I recover from difficult situations? And then, some tips and techniques on conflict resolution. So number one, conflict can be healthy, right? I've often said that, people say, it's good to be brutally honest. I think being candid versus being brutally honest are two different things. I don't ever want someone to be brutally honest with me, because the word brutal has a negative connotation to it. It means you're trying to hurt somebody, right? I don't ever want to tear someone down, but am I going to be candid with you, bring the facts, let's talk through the things. I give you that as a tip. If someone says, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, you might want to stop them right there and say, I don't want you to be brutal ever. But I've built some of my best relationships, from recovering from difficult situations. I am one of my top strengths through Gallup is positivity. You probably aren't surprised now that you've heard me speak for a few minutes. So I choose to be positive in nearly every situation. And so, but that's part of my makeup. That's part of my DNA. But I also try to address difficult situations as soon as they arise. Don't wait a week or a month or 6 months or what have you. Now, I think there's some, depending on how difficult the situation is and if you get emotional about it, I think that there's extreme value in cooling off for a day, right? Because people say you shouldn't be emotional at work. That is humanly impossible. We all are humans and we have emotion, right? So you might want to get your emotion in check. But I think, or maybe I might need to course correct, right? But handle things as they arise. And the key here is to always learn and learn in the easy situations and the difficult situations. Because sometimes some of those best relationships, because you might earn some trust and respect through those. And some tips for that: listening. Listen with. You've heard this a lot. Listen with intent. Listen to hear, not to answer. And I also think, listening with the mindset of trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? With that empathy, leading with that empathy. That may not be natural for a lot of people. Might have to work on that muscle some. And by the way, Gallup will tell you if empathy is one of your top strengths or not. For example, my son, my oldest son, empathy is his number one. So, but he can use that as a strength, right? And I appreciate that he tries to put other people first in his mindset. But he knows that that's a fact for him. Speaking of facts, focus on the facts in those difficult situations. Understand that there will always be emotions involved, as I spoke to, and be flexible, right? I think that that's another key. So those are some of the things that I think, as far as recovering from difficult situations, and then tips and techniques. There's a lot depending on your behavior style and your communication style, the way you lead into conflict and the way it impacts you. We're all going to be different. But I do think we can all agree to try to be flexible and to make progress, right, regardless of your communication style. So those are some of the things that I've done. It's not necessarily that it's the right answer, but it's some of the things that I've done in my travels.
Did you have to, and this is like an action call for the audience, if anybody has a specific difficult situation or some form of conflict resolution that you want us to kind of give some feedback or maybe help with some tips, just put it in the chat, or I don't know, raise your hand. I can unmute you and you can jump onto the stage and we can brainstorm about it.
Because I think, as far as difficult situations, I think a lot of times when we get down into the detail and down into the weeds, always try to encourage to focus on the goals and keeping an eye on the target, right? What are we really trying to accomplish here? And I think if sometimes we step back just a little bit and try to get out of the noise and really try to focus on what we're trying to accomplish, I think that helps us to make progress.
I think that's great, but I think that's the most difficult thing to do in a difficult situation. Sometimes it's easier to just get everything wrapped around you, and you are unable to step. If we're doing like you said, just step back and kind of keep calm and relax, and extrapolate yourself from your body and just look at what's happening out there, you will be able to use your logic and make decisions rather than your emotions.
Well, I'll give you a scenario, because I think sometimes it's really good to show humility, as a male or a female, in leadership, as far as women in leadership. So my boss is a male, and he's great. One of the best bosses I've ever had in my life, for my first 2 years here. Absolutely amazing. His name is Jamie Goldberg, at Percepta. So, he was my boss, the first, over the first 2 years that I was here. And we had a quite difficult situation that arose in my current role. And, and he called me one evening to talk about it. And I humbly said, Jamie, I'm not ready to talk about this today. And he said, why is that? And I said, because I am at the place to where I'm afraid I will be emotional and I will say things that I will regret. So I'd like to postpone this and let's talk about it tomorrow when I could be objective about it. And he immediately said, no problem. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And just that support, right, that I had from him. Number one, the self-awareness of where I was in this situation. Number two, the trust that I have with my boss to say, I'm not ready to have this conversation with you, knowing that he would say it would be okay. But then the empowerment for him to end and say, okay, I got you. And the next day I had written down, I took the next morning, I wrote down some facts, that kind of thing. I talked to him about the facts. I tried to keep my emotion at bay. And so that was a true situation that happened actually at the beginning of this year. So, it happens to all of us. I'm not above having difficult situations myself. I actually, even though I come across as very positive, I still have difficult situations.
No, but that's a great example. I was actually thinking about the same thing. When I'm quite of an impulsive in nature. So if anything happens, I would rather, and this is something that I've been training myself to do in the past few years, because I wasn't doing it before and it wasn't really very successful in results, was the fact that I'd like to sleep on it. If there's something that needs objective, rationale thinking, other than just throwing an answer on the spot in the voice of, emotions, anger, or whatever you're feeling. Nothing good can come out of that.
Yes.
And sometimes what you put, what you say, what you do, what you write, those sometimes live forever. So you better be careful.
And even on the sleep on it part, even if it's not necessarily that was an extreme example. Maybe if it's not an overly difficult situation, but you just don't have all the facts yet, let me sleep on it. Or one thing that I use is, look, I've got to soak all this in. So I'm going to need a day or two because my brain I haven't processed all this yet.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. That should be okay. Now, are there times when we've got to make a decision by this afternoon? Okay, well, I'm going to make, there's the difference between a right answer. How do I word that? Do you want the right answer or an answer right now? And when I'm put in those situations to where I'm not sure, I will state that. I'll say, look, I'm giving you a right now answer. This may not be the right answer, but since we don't have time to do all the things that I would like to do, here's my right now answer. And I reserve the right to tell you in 3 days that I was completely wrong. Right? Because we all get put in those situations. You said, Jenny, that sounds great that you get to sleep on it and soak it all in. But my job won't let me do that. We have, we're a very reactive project management function, and we've got to make decisions right now. But then speak up. I think it's a part of our influence to say, hey, if we're going to do that in this way, kind of like I call it the emergency room style, right? If we're going to do this emergency type decision making, then this is the right now answer. It may not be the right answer. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Okay, we are down to the last question, and we are very good with timing as well. And the last question is actually a very pretty way of, and also very insightful way of kind of closing the. By the way, I had one more follow-up. Sorry for that. To the previous two questions, I was just curious, in the book, Did Elise ask for situations, or were they just general?
It was general. I threw the situation in there for free just now, but it was just general. That part about the situation is not in the book.
Okay.
So this is bonus material.
We got a bonus. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So the last question is, and I think this is something that all of us we should answer, and folks,
Yes.
put it in the chat. Put your feedback on the chat. We'd be curious to know what your answer is. What are the 3 words that best describe why you enjoy being in project management?
Okay, so I like the challenge. So there's quite a few people in the session here. So in 3 words, I want to see some stuff in the chat. In 3 words, why do you enjoy being a project manager and in project management? And I see Thinka put it here for us. So I'd love to, before I give my 3 words, I'd love to hear, come on, accept the challenge. I'd love to see some stuff in the chat. And Thinka, you can put yours in the chat too. You have to probably think about it for a minute. In 3 words, why do you enjoy being in project management or being a project manager? All right. I can tell that you're thinking, no pun intended. Yes. All right. Executing strategic vision. Okay.
Right.
All right. I see that one. That's a good one. Got a thumbs up on that one. Well, you guys I see some people are typing some in there right now. So my 3 words just in closing are ability to influence. That's not a surprise, right? But I think that's why I enjoy, like I said, I love this craft. And it's because, I can get out here and make a difference, right? Ability to influence. So that's my 3. I see some others have come in: leadership, passion, and influence. I like that. 3 words. That's really good.
Coming.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Yeah. Planning, executing, and leadership. Thank you. I love these. So
I only have 2, but mine would have been connecting people. I was trying to figure out what the 3rd one was. But I think everybody at the end is about it's definitely a diverse profession, and
yes,
room to grow as an individual. I find it's amazing and endless.
yeah.
No matter what.
3 words or less. There you go. 3 words or less. I can name that in 2 words: connecting people.
Yeah. I think that's I'm curious how all the other 150, I think we can make a catalog of just this question with feedback from all around the world. We can launch another challenge of people just putting the 3 words that best describe to them why they enjoy project management.
Yes.
This was really lovely. Kudos to you, Jenny, and everybody else who contributed to that book and just openly shared your experience and your knowledge. And we're so looking forward to seeing you again at the conference. And you're going to be in a panel. You're going to discuss with other panelists about managing versus leading, or leading versus managing projects. I'm not sure what the first word should be.
Yes. And also my last plug, I really appreciate, Elise Stevens for, humbly allowing me to contribute to her project. So thank you, Elise.
Put it here as well. And Elise, hopefully you will see the recording, and hopefully we have the chance to get together at some point and just for another round of thanks and more insight. That would be awesome.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Pretty good crowd here. And thank you again, Thinka and the PMO leader.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everybody from the audience. This has been a great conversation. The recording will be available as soon as we finish, but just for members. So, you will have to go in and register if not. You can also, if anybody's collecting, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but if anybody's collecting PDUs, you can use these to self-report.
Yes.
I know that's important for some people. So go ahead. This is episode number 19. Think about, you can find everything on the our YouTube channel. There's 19 episodes. That means 19 hours of PDUs that you can self-report. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, other than that, our next episode, so we will take a break for the month of October just because we have the conference happening and there's a lot of activity happening there. And Jenny, you also have a few more. Actually, you have another conference in the coming weeks, right? You have
Yes. The PMO Strategies is hosting another conference. It's the Global PMO Impact Summit, and it starts Monday, September 18th. It's free. It's virtual. A lot of great speakers, and my topic that I will address on Monday, this Monday, is project and portfolio management maturity. So yeah, that's what's coming up here in a few days.
Wonderful. So you'll be very busy, and everybody who wants to follow Jenny, go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn and see what she's doing and what she's up to. And Jenny, when you do go ahead and write your book, you'll have another invite from us to join us on another episode to talk about that. That will be very exciting as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. So thank you for today. Thank you everybody from the audience, and we will be in touch. We will see each other again in November. In the meantime, we will hope everybody has a great day, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.